A very different sort of circuit, and while the skies were grey at Silverstone, very much blue is the order of the day in the sky department here down at the circuit. Paul Ricard, a circuit that broke new ground when it was opened back in 1970 and has had that modernisation programme about a decade ago, and looking fabulous today here on Saturday. We've got the 6-hour race this evening, the cars filling the pit lane at the moment, 60 plus cars to go out to play.
Keep the cups slow, don't keep hopping backwards and forwards.
We can see the cars' positions on their windscreens as they sit in the pits. Looking out the window from our commentary position, I can see the Dragon Speed Ferrari looking suitably American with the stars and stripes on its livery, the Groundhog 888, 888 BMW, and the black Nissan GT Academy GTR looking very mean indeed. That's Gaetan Palatu, who made his debut at Le Mans, or almost did last weekend. Ricardo Sanchez and Mark Szulzicki. Again, John, the GT Racing Academy from Nissan has been an extraordinary project, and some of the drivers they've turned out have been, you know, absolutely remarkable. A year or so, not even a year ago, Gaetan Palatu was sitting on his sofa at home playing on the PlayStation, and here he is. He's had a crack at Le Mans, didn't get to race.
Well, but he did practice.
He did practice
and
a lot.
And some people wondered whether he was actually there too soon, because doing it on the old game table, boy, whatever Nissan Academy, the GT Academy does, it doesn't actually give you what it's like in real life, and particularly going to a big circuit, a long circuit. Here, Paul Ricard, circuit lap is 3.6 miles, 5.8 kilometers. A longish lap in relation to most of the Blancpain events that we would attend this year. 10 corners around the racetrack. They've got corner numbers, or they got corner names. But think back to 1970 when this circuit came into the calendar, how advanced it was. It was like a new world. And there you get an example of how the racetrack is now. They're coming down into what would be called the chicane, and that's sort of turn 2, then into turn 3, Saint-Beaulieu, and then down into 4, which is actually the second part of turn 3. Turn 4 is known as l'école, which I think from my schoolboy French means school.
No, it's moved on since then, John. Perfect track conditions, as I said. The Lamborghini Super Trofeo have been out to put a bit of rubber down early on, but for all these drivers, 63 cars, it's about getting your sighting laps in. They went out on the track twice yesterday, and the 63 GRT Grasser Racing Team Lamborghini was fastest in both the practice session and the pre-qualifying session for Venturini, Zaug and Bortolotti. Their best lap, 1 minute 57.7 yesterday. Let's see how much faster they can go today. But with this many cars, you say it's a long track, but they will be almost nose to tail around it. It will be about, in this qualifying session, finding a clear stretch of tarmac.
Well, actually, as I was making my way to the commentary booth, bumped into Adrian Zaug and just asking him, bearing in mind how competitive their car is. They're happy with the performance of the car, but of course it is a massive field, and as we've seen at Monza, we've seen at Silverstone, 60 plus car on a racetrack of that length, and one of the Bentleys decides, now what is he doing, because that's not part of the racetrack. It may be for the club circuit, and there's an infinite number of varieties of circuit here at Paul Ricard, but it pulled over to the right as if it wanted to go back into the pits, and that's not the back into the pits.
No, that was extraordinary. I think that was the 84 Bentley. We'll have a look and see. But we're still waiting for the first cars to cross the start-finish line in the conventional fashion, and flashing past us any second will be the first of those, which is the #1 Audi. So get used to that being red this weekend. Keeps changing livery from race to race. It was had the pale blue on it to help us identify it at Silverstone and at Zolder.
Sorry?
So long shots down the straight. You can still haven't seen the 84 Bentley come out of that little swerve into the little chicane there, but what we're seeing now is the sun hitting in the faces of the drivers. They come up the rise. It's a bit more, well, the 84 Bentley has just come back on out of its little pit stop.
I don't know if it's having a sort of motorway breakfast. Maybe there is a little sort of cafe somewhere on the pit straight. You can stop and have a croissant coffee.
If you're feeling tired, pull over.
Why not?
Don't be an idiot.
Exactly.
Now, let's have a ride around the circuit with the 23 Nissan. A good chance to see the beautiful trees around the circuit. Very flat, lots of width, and always the feeling of space on either side of the circuit as you go down. Well, not so much on the straights, but then you get to the corners, and it does coax you, perhaps, going a little too fast.
Well, interestingly, not this particular Nissan, but the Sean Walkinshaw, Craig Dolby, Martin Plowman, they were telling me yesterday, probably they shouldn't have done, but they reckon that Nissan's straight line speed is pretty mighty. They were initially doing in excess of 290 kilometers per hour, and they believe if they got a mega tow, which you'd probably get from another Nissan or maybe one of the Bentleys, they could actually maybe kiss the 300 kilometers per hour, which is awesome. That awesome for a GT3 car.
I mean, it's truly awesome, but we've seen time and again that the Nissan have this incredible punch out of corners, so if that can help them to get into the slipstream of something that's a little bit ahead of them. Red flags, in fact, just as we were going around looking with the forward sighted shot through the windscreen of the 23 Nissan, I thought I saw a car parked at the side of the circuit down at the back straight. It may be for that. Is it the Bentley? I wasn't entirely sure, but it's probably the 84. It had that little pull-off, but I actually thought it looked like a Porsche, but we will see according to who comes back in. So frustration, 11.5 minutes of the session remaining.
Well, it's a Ferrari 458.
Is that?
And that looks to start finish straight.
That could be the 16
what
car.
Is that? There's that. What is that white? If it's a very long camera shot, it's for shortening. No, it's not. Is that?
It's off the circuit, so it doesn't look as if someone could have come around the corner. Was it a marker board on an exit of a corner?
It's on the start finish straight. Okay, so there is the Ferrari all lined up for the start of the race, except it doesn't start until 5 o'clock. Maybe somebody's told them that it's a late evening start.
Yeah. Don't you hate it when you get it wrong like that? Ah, dearie me. Oh, it's going again.
Well, you reboot these things, and it's amazing the complexities of electronics in modern cars, let alone in modern race cars. So it is underway under its own steam. So there's the sport garage of Sylvain Day, Bashir Madini and Nicholas Misla.
So while the others are coming in and out of the pits, and now he can't come out of the pits, the red flag is waving, so the 23 Nissan has come in, is now sitting at pit exit. Just to explain, the qualifying will be split into 3 15-minute segments. So this one is very frustrating for the drivers who are out in this first session.
Just to give you an idea of what we can expect in lap times, because we haven't really seen a full-on flying lap from anybody flag coming out, was the Grasso Racing Lamborghini with Bertoletti behind the wheel. Adrian Zag is one of the 2 drivers, 3 drivers in that car. Time set in the morning session when ambient and track temperatures probably slightly cooler than they were at the back end of Friday afternoon when it was very much warmer. A 157.708. Now, teams are going to hold back as much as possible their tyre allocation. They want as many new sets of tyres as they can use productively for the 6-hour event itself. So they may struggle through in qualifying 1, qualifying 2, on the best of the rest, and then throw on a new set for the final qualifying to try and get, the grid position is going to be key, because if you get bogged down, we said this in Monza, we said it in Silverstone, if you get bogged down, out of position, middle of the pack, you will waste almost the first half hour or more trying to get to what would be your natural position within the race. So a lot of people are aware of that. Probably everybody's going to do very much the same thing, and I think the 3rd segment of qualifying is going to be a cracker.
Yes, in fact, you could see that at Silverstone with Craig Dolby and Nicolas Lapierre in the Nissan and the McLaren really having to waste the bulk of that first third of the race just playing catch-up, getting to the position they should have been. And of course, by the time they've done that, the leaders have just pulled ever further clear. Good to see the 42 Ferrari is managing to limp its way back to the pits. The clock has stopped, 11 minutes and 36 of this 15-minute session remaining, so hopefully he can get back down, but it's a slow lap. The car's sitting in the pit lane, gaining a bit of heat, a tiny bit of cloud cover. Not the full sun we had when we arrived at the circuit. It's still bright, but hopefully that will keep the cars just that little bit cooler. But the drivers, of course, will be overheating as they sit there, stewing as they think about what lies ahead of them.
Well, we're coming up to 10:15 on Saturday morning, so the temperature is still, in relative terms, what we might expect late in the afternoon, cool. There is still quite a strong breeze blowing. It was blowing throughout Friday's practice, the 3 practice sessions. And that can have a bearing on a lot of factors here in Paul Ricard. The way the wind was blowing yesterday was pretty much blowing 3/4 into the face of the cars as they come down the very long Mistral straight into Scene. If the wind's blowing that direction, gives you a little bit more bite, a little bit more confidence turning into Scene. If it was a tailwind, you'd have more speed down the straight and a lot less stability on the entry into the right-hand Scene, which is a corner of mega status. Nobody's going to take it flat out in a GT car. They just simply don't have the overall levels of grip or downforce to do so. But if you can just do it with a slight feather going in and maybe only a very light left foot dab on the brakes, and you keep the power on, you could make a very quick lap.
Now, John, just looking out the windows, you have fabulous shots of the pit lane. In fact, the view from our commentary box is looking about down just 2 cars ahead of the yellow Mercedes there. And I can see the Pierre Ere entered car, and that's moved up a class from Am to Pro-Am because Arnold Batchel and Pierre have been joined by Renger van der Zande, a driver we know very well from way back in A1 GP days.
Yes.
He's moved it up to Pro-Am, and that's one of the features of this endurance series. According to who's brought in for events, you can go up or down a class, and sometimes a better, higher ranked driver does drop out, so the car can drop down to get points in a lower category.
And the other element of this event is that a lot of the teams are running what would be, in part or in total, the driver pairings that they are going to use for Spa 24 at the end of July. And if you look down to WRT Audi through BMW, I mean, one of the exciting entrants, I think, is the SRO Motorsport number 9. That's the Alex Zanardi car, and he's joined by factory BMW drivers Bruno Spengler and Timo Glock, with a beard, apparently. I haven't seen him, but he has got a beard. So, I mean, a massive entry and a quality of driver, the highest I've ever seen outside of Spa 24. Yeah,
but also clearly preparing for its home race. Mark VDS is here, the Belgian team, with another BMW Z4, Lucas Luhr, Maxime Martin and Marcus Paltler. That's a strong lineup, and I know you're a major fan of Maxime Martin, so he had that brilliant drive to victory at Nogaro.
And I am also a major fan of Lucas Luhr because he brings to motorsport a slightly alternative view and attitude, which is very healthy.
Elaborate on that, John.
He's an individual, a character, a personality, non-conformist. I like non-conformists.
I wonder why you were wearing only one shoe this morning, John. I didn't want to comment.
Well, it was just a matching sock that went with it.
So, green flag, and we're out again, and already the clock has ticked down to just over 10 minutes remaining in this session. It's about nailing a lap, and nailing as soon as... Oh, I thought there was a car off the circuit. It's a little Renault driving down one of the outside roads.
In the background, you can see the chicane, which was introduced basically to slow cars down as they came up to scene, has been used in the past. It is actually being used for the support Lamborghini Super Trofeo event. So they're using the chicane, but not, I have to say, and I'm delighted to say, not for the 6 hours here at Paul Ricard. But also that camera shot from scene, you get an illustration of just actually the rise up into scene corner is much steeper than it looks when you're sitting in the driver's seat. You can see the grunt of the Nissan powering off the final turn. That's turn, they call it turn 10.
Dupont, which is the final one to the start-finish straight.
Correct.
But the key for the 23 Nissan is very clever. Got itself straight to pit exit as it came into the pits after the red lap. That means it has clear circuit ahead of him. Okay, it's got a car just slightly in the way, but he could be the only person who won't get to complain about slower cars. Using all the track at that little bit more, that's fine. I think that's just about within the bounds of acceptability.
Yeah, Wolfgang right behind the wheel of the Nissan. And the whole issue about misuse of circuit limits is becoming more and more contentious because, again, on a circuit like Paul Ricard, you can see well, there are curbs, and Wolfgang right sort of slightly wide of that going into turn 3. Lots of flat curbs, so you can make use of them, but you must not. Here in particular, turn 4, the exit, so easy, and you can see marker cones being placed there to prevent drivers abusing the exit of turn 4, where you will pick up substantial amount of straight line speed if you do run wide.
Now, not everybody got out of the pits at the same time. You can see the McLaren behind the Rinaldi Ferrari, the 55 McLaren warming up its tyres, so he's clearly on his out lap, but others are definitely on their flying laps, and among them is the 23 Nissan. That's not it there, that is, with number 17 on the windscreen at the moment, but now a purple middle sector. Well, it's not too surprising. It was the first one to get onto this second flying lap, and now he's really being frustrated, being delayed somewhat by the Ferrari, cuts inside it, but that might have scuppered its lap, but so far that's the fastest we've seen.
And he's backed out of it as well, because he's suddenly finding himself, well, it looks like that long shot maybe slightly misleading, but up until that point the Nissan had fastest overall in the middle sector. So far no one has yet completed a timed flying lap that is representative of what we saw on Friday, just below the 2-minute barrier. 1:57, middle 57 is where we should be looking. So has Wolfgang Reip, did he abandon the lap because of traffic in the middle of the circuit? It was around the corner called Busset. In fact, comes across start-finish line. It is the Ferrari currently who's gone quickest, but that's, well, Wolfgang Reip was fastest for a millisecond. It's now at 99. And that's certainly gone quick, as that's the Roux Racing Mercedes, Nicky Bastien, Stepp Dusseldorf, Daniel Juncadella.
Oh, we've got a Bentley stopped out on the... It's not the day of the 84 Bentley, is it? So 58 is fastest of all at the moment, but that will change very quickly.
Nicolas
That's the Von
Lapierre.
Ren. Yeah, Nicolas Lapierre.
That's another car. That's a flat left front, isn't it?
So we've already seen this one pulling off into the little for its pit stop. Clearly a very troubled morning so far for 84.
That's just at the beginning of the lap. He's only up at turn 2, and he's going to make a long, but it'll take the best part of 4 or 5 minutes.
Looking at the number 1 Audi there, change of driver lineup, change of livery. It's Lawrence Vantor as always, but Mike Rockenfeller and René Rast are joining him. At the moment he's in 7th place, but just below the 2-minute mark. Clock ticking down, 6.5 minutes remaining. This is going to be quick fire. 1 minute 57.719 is the new fastest lap.
That's the quickest lap we've had all weekend to date. And that's a really strong lap from Jean, I can never pronounce it, Palatou.
Gaetan Palatou, so
yeah.
That's remarkable. We were just talking about him before the session. He's one of the Nissan GT Academy drivers, had his little taste at them all. Now, let's see what the number 1 Audi can do.
Well, that's not the bloody ideal. They're running so far wide coming out of scene. I mean, that will not be penalised because there's no benefit at that point of the track running so far wide. But it's still not what I would like to see in a driver of René Rast's ability. That is not normally what you'd expect from him either.
Certainly won't have helped the tyres. They'll have gained a whole new coating of dust to be rubbed off around the remainder of this lap. 1 minute 57.5 for Gaetan Palatou in the 22 Nissan. It's still the fastest time. René Rast trying to hunt it down. I don't think he'll manage it this lap, and he's now slipped down to 8th place at the moment. We have the top 14 cars under the 2-minute mark. Will this be another lap under 2 minutes? I think it will, even including that run over the running wide at scene. So let's see, will the number 1 go top? No, he's improved his time. René Rast goes up to 6th place, but still it's Gaetan Palatou top of the timesheets.
So drivers have done their time, some of them back into the pits, some are still making their way around. There is the number 1 red. It's quite a fetching colour when you see it in that context, not the normal idea with that stainless steel band round the rear of the cockpit area.
Well, certainly a lot easier than Nogaro when we had the 4 WRT cars all painted the same colour. 46, Marcus Poulsen, that's the marked VDS car that's obviously down here getting some mileage in ahead of the big one, the Spa 24 Hours in July, and going pretty well indeed. But it's Nissan's 1 and 2 at the moment, 1st and 2nd. 22 ahead of 23, and 46 trying to find its feet.
Did I not say about a few minutes ago how quick the Sean Walkinshaw, Craig Dolby, Nissan have been down the straight?
You did?
I wonder why. Was that just... Anyway,
they've been listening.
It's interesting. Oh, and Ferrari running a little bit wide.
But you can see there in that shot just the sheer problems with traffic. Fine if you want to tow down the straight, but one's just pulled over to the side. But let's see, how can 46 do? Will it slot up the charts? Well, he's a long way down the charts. She's 48th at the moment. So that's off the bottom page of the 2nd page on the timing screen. Looking at the top, it's 22 and 23 from Nicolas Lapierre in the 28 McLaren. He is 3rd fastest.
And look at that, one of the Von Ryan cars, of course, winning at Silverstone. And the McLaren 650S, really a big step forward. We've mentioned this throughout the season, really. And Monza has a high-speed circuit, but it was at Silverstone where its balance of handling and effectively the balance of performance worked so effectively.
Well, it proved its worth because that was its first win. The following weekend it won the British GT race there, and the weekend after that the International GT Open. So the 650S very much established. Still nobody challenging the 1 minute 57.519 set by Gaetan Palatou in the 22 Nissan. Cars, as the times tick down, just under 3.5 minutes remaining, trying to get that all-important tow in the 55. McLaren has gone for a little spin, is now sitting stationary in the track. That should be Vadim Gitlin having many driver changes. He's a Russian driver at the Attempto team, and I'm afraid he's been caught out by one of the more technical parts of this lap. Sitting in the way, that will certainly hamper everybody.
It's focusing. When you're facing the traffic and they're coming around the penultimate corner and having to get out of the way. So, just again, back to personal bests in 1st and 2nd sector for the Z4 BMW, the VDS car. Traffic may well be a factor because and it looks to run up the inside. It's not really possible. You've got to be absolutely certain you're alongside if you want to make a pass coming up into turn 7. Ben Door is the name of the particular corner. And now all the pace is gone, and that's the frustration. Such a big field. There's no way you can actually go out with premeditation and look for a clear gap. The McLaren now pulled over onto the outside of the corner, or the inside in that particular case. So let's
red
see.
flag.
Oh, red flag. So they're going to remove that car, and that's everybody's time is now going to be discounted. There it is, the 23 Nissan. That's the third of the 3 Nissans this weekend.
Well, with 2 minutes 42 seconds remaining on the clock, that's going to be very, very important to be at pit exit. So when the session restarts, you can get out, get that warm-up lap in, and then session will not restart. Message has just come up on the screen. Not enough time. So at the moment, advantage Nissan, 22 and 23 at the top of the charts. Third fastest for Nicolas Lapierre in the better placed of the Von Ryan McLarens, and Tristan Vautier, fourth fastest
good run
in
for the Ferrari.
Number 20 ACA ASP Ferrari. So red flags, 2 red flags in this session. Not the best start to the day, but with a track as full as this, and the possibilities are fairly endless.
It's inevitable you're going to see lots of incidents. It's going to be disruptive to the qualifying sessions. You've just got to get them through. You've got to, there's other events taking place. You've got to keep your event on the schedule. So somebody's going to win, somebody's going to lose. Right now, Nissan looking very, very strong indeed with those 2 laps. 157.5 and 157.7. Certainly 157.519, the quickest we've seen over the weekend, and I can only assume things are going to get quicker.
And what you're seeing there is the teams having to work double quick in the pits to sort the car out for the second group of runners, and that's the Santalok Junior team with Jean-Paul Buffin, Georges Caban and Gilles Lemeray.
Yeah, looking at the 99 Daniel Juncadella, who is in 5th place in the Mercedes. Mercedes again looking strong here in the practice sessions. Daniel Juncadella, of course, loosely described as a young, up-and-coming hot rod. And there we go, back to the Bentley.
Well, this is the car that had so many problems. Poor old Harold Premat would not have enjoyed that run. There were 2 slow moments we saw for the 84 Bentley. Tending the car, so it clearly seems to be okay. We'll find out later what that problem was, but not the dream start. And what you really needed in that session, particularly with it being so quick fire, was to get those times in early, and the 22 and 23 Nissans did just that.
Yeah, I mean, they didn't really find clear track. They just found track with less cars. Still had cars to deal with. They had to find a way around them. René Rast just explaining how that went, and he ends up 6th in the number 1 Audi, 158.874, coming back, of course, from having driven at Le Mans and something somewhat different. And it's, you come out of a high downforce LMP WEC car into something that is significantly less downforce, albeit René Rast was a master in the Audi R8 LMSs. He was last year, along with Lawrence Van Thor, the class act of the WRT team. But it's easy in a way to go forward to a car that's got a lot more downforce than it is to come back to a car that's got significantly less. And you've just got to readjust all your senses, all your perceptions of where you can brake, how much feel and bite you get through your hands, through your feet, through your whole body. The commitment. So he's rebooting his own sort of senses.
And looking great down in the pits, but talking of the WRT team, let's hear from Lawrence Van Thor.
Lawrence, how's the car feeling this weekend?
Well, until now everything feels well. It's very hot outside, so it's difficult conditions. The car is still new to us. It's a new car, so we're learning a lot and improving each time, but everything feels well.
And it's a bit of a new driver lineup for this weekend. How is the lineup?
I think we have a very good lineup. I mean, we have 3 professional drivers in the car, 1 DTM driver, and with Lawrence, one of the best GT drivers in the world. I think it's a very good lineup, and we have good chances really to do good results.
You say it's a very good lineup. This is the Galacticos. This is a real superstar lineup.
Well, if you say so. Obviously, yeah, like René said, Mike and René, it's a very good lineup. I think one of the best we've ever had together. So yeah, the goal is now to do a good race, but most importantly to do a good race in a couple of weeks in Spa, which is the big one, which we obviously all want to win.
So are you looking at this race not as winning here, obviously you want to do well, but more that you want to get in such good practice so you're completely competitive when it comes to Spa?
Yeah, Spa for us is the most important race, and now we are preparing just for Spa. I mean, we just try to find out the right setup for the tires. For us, it's the first time we drive this car with Pirelli tires. We're just trying out to figure out some setups, race setup, but also for quali. This is just basically a test for us.
This is really just a test you've seen this weekend?
And of course, me and Lawrence is scoring some points. For him, it's important for the championship, but I will not score that many points because I'm not doing the full season in endurance. So for Lawrence, it's important to do score 4 points, but actually for us, it's just to gather some information.
Cool, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Just to sort of cut across you there, Bruce, but it's quite. What René Rast was saying there is that Laurens van Thor is involved in the championship because you score in both the sprint and the endurance events. But there are a lot of driver car packages here which are not a part of the championship. They may do one or the other, but they're not doing both. And therefore, their emphasis is really on a preparation, a 6-hour race to look forward to a 24-hour race.
So they say, John. So they say. No, you're entirely right. And Laurens doesn't have to.
And in fact, just that car, the Laurens van Thor car, René Rast, Rockenfeller will not be. I think Mike Rockenfeller is not in that car. I think it may well be Marcus Winkelhock who will share the car with Rast and Van Thor. They're mixing and matching all the drivers, the Audi drivers available. Right now, Marcus Winkelhock is driving in one of the WRT cars, or the Phoenix Racing cars, I beg your pardon, with Marshy Lee and Sean Thong. So he might feel, am I being disadvantaged? Well, that's a contracted obligation, but he will be in the pound seat when it comes to going to Spa.
Yes, it's hard to overemphasize just how important the Spa 24 hours. It's the jewel in the crown. But at least this one, at 10 o'clock last night, it just moved to full dark. We're racing on till 11 o'clock tonight, so it'll give them a little taste of something. For those who are at Le Mans, it helps decompress them, but then they've got to build up again and get used to racing in the dark. 1 hour of it tonight, looking ahead to the Spa 24
I've only
hours.
one word to say, or 2 words. Headlight flare.
Well, just about to start now. Just before we go out, let's hear from Dave Ryan at Von Ryan Racing.
Dave, it was a fabulous result over in the UK at Silverstone. How's the car feeling this weekend?
Yeah, we're getting there. We struggled a bit yesterday, but we think we're on top of it today, so we'll see in the next 2 sessions.
Are you still riding the high of that win over in the UK?
Sorry.
Are you still riding the high of that win over at Silverstone?
Oh, that was a couple of weeks ago now, so we've got the challenge of this race in Spa coming up. So.
Can you move on that quickly? You know, it was a great win. The whole team was so happy. Can you just move on that quickly?
Yeah, you have to, really. Nothing stops. And it's just hard work. It's push, push, push. So, yeah.
So push, push, push. Obviously, the round after this will be Spa. How much are you looking at testing here for Spa?
Oh, all the running you do is beneficial. You know, the more running you get, the more you know about the car. So any running's good.
Dave, thank you.
Dave Ryan seems totally under control there, but what the timesheets, he knows the clock doesn't lie. The faster car was only 26 fastest yesterday, 1 point X off the seconds off the pace.
I mean, Davy Ryan is being very phlegmatic about it all. They are here, they've got a job to do. Truly, you know, there's nobody in the pit lane who's got any more experience than Davy Ryan has in running or being involved in a race. And most of his career has been spent one way or another with a McLaren race car. So they know what they've got to do. They've got a strong lineup of drivers. And they didn't win Silverstone by good luck. They didn't go on and win 2 other events by good luck. That's good racing. And you've got Nicolas Lapierre, Rob Bell, Kevin Estre in the car that won at Silverstone. I mean, that's a stellar lineup of talent.
It is, and their win at Silverstone, you say there was no luck involved. It was also very clever tactics coming in under the full course yellow. So brains as well as the speed on the circuit. And Nicolas Lapierre, certainly in the early stage of that race, showed he can overtake. He had to pick his way up the order.
Yes, and again, overtaking is fundamental to motor racing. Here at Paul Ricard, you've got options, but not that many.
Quickly back down to the pits, we're going to hear from Andy Soucek.
Andy, I just interrupted you doing your warm-ups ready to go out. How is the team feeling here in France at the Paul Ricard?
So far so good. We don't know really where we are. We'll see now in qualifying. I will do obviously Q3 with new tires, and we'll give it a good go. But our aim is obviously to start in the top 10 to be able to keep up with the front pace setters throughout the race.
Were you disappointed after Silverstone?
Well, I got a drive through, which was deserved. So I was disappointed with myself. But now it's time to move on and head down. We really need to score a good result here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So OJ moving at speed down in the pits, and we can see out on track the car that Andy will be driving, the number 8 Bentley. And we can't give you a flying lap time because they haven't set a flying lap. But looking around this lap, they actually look a little better space than they were at the start of the first qualifying session. So hopefully they will have representative flying laps on their first time around.
A lot of the teams were very quick once the first session ended to get their car in to the head of the line. They're realizing that the earlier you can get out and do a timed lap, the sooner you got something in the bank to work with. And you can see the Bentley just hopping and skipping as it goes on to Mistral Straight. But
Yes.
just the best part of a kilometre long. I mean, it's a long, long straight into the wind. The wind direction sort of 3/4 onto the nose of the Bentley. It hugs the right-hand side going down. There's probably a reason for that, and I suspect because that's fundamentally what everybody else does. Then you come across the racetrack to the left, the slight incline up into Scene. A breathe, you can just see the nose of the Bentley dipping momentarily. Probably just a bit of left foot braking, nothing that's a major brake. Running over the curb on the exit of Scene, that's quite permissible, acceptable, put it that way, not necessarily permissible. And then you go into this long, long right-hand corner, Bousset. There's no particular line. You can use a variety of lines, and drivers will do that when they are trying to get through slower traffic.
Well, you get into that section of the circuit, you say a kilometre of the straight. We saw out Maxime Soulet in the 8 Bentley, 2 green times to his name. So long and so straight, and then it's just twist, twist, twist all the way back to the start-finish straight. About effectively that long Dubousset corner, a long left-hander, then Dulac, and then Dupont. Super twisty, and here coming on through Dupont onto the start-finish straight. Have we got a time on the board? Yes, Mike Rockenfeller, 1:59.0. Will the Bentley better that? I think it'll be just outside it, or will he be under 2 minutes? Not quite, so 5th place for the Bentley at the moment, but a lap on the board, and the 7 Bentley is just ahead of it on the timesheets.
Yeah, I mean, at the first flying lap, Mike Rockefeller, I mean, it's the best part of almost 1.6, 1.7 seconds slower than we saw from the quickest lap from the Nissan. But now that's been improved upon. Number 11, and that is Michael Brozinski in the Ferrari.
He was the one
Kessel Racing,
yeah, we saw him spinning on the opening lap at Silverstone and being stranded in that moment where we lost or had injuries to both of the BMWs. Now the Rinaldi Ferrari with Seafried looking very on edge. That's been a strong car
That's
all
been
year.
in both sprint and in enduro. It's been a very, very good car indeed. Marcus Seafried, and they've got together now a good package. Seafried, Seidler, third driver is Rinat Selikov, who was in the car at Monza. There's the rear view from that Ferrari 333. It's coming onto, that's turn 4, L'École, onto the Mistral Straight.
Isn't it great with the shadow? You can see how strong the sun is. You know, this is diffuser view.
But also, I just want to see the deflection. I mean, that's the road more than any bodywork deflecting. The shadow as the car goes down the straight. It's a very smooth straight, but at the speeds these cars are doing, 275, probably 280 kilometers per hour, 279.
John,
I mean,
you're good.
0.2 of a kilometre out. I mean, sorry guys.
Yeah, well, shoddy. Right, the target time is now
way off on the exit of Scene.
Oh my golly. Well, the target time's dropped to 1:57.756. The McLaren with Adrian Quaife Hobbs is now top of the charts, just ahead of Martin Plowman in the 73 Nissan, using that straight line speed.
The 73 Nissan, and that's the MRS GT Racing, Sean Walkinshaw, Martin Plowman and Craig Dolby. Maybe a secret squirrel comment, very quick in a straight line. Well, you need to be quick in a straight line, principally because it's so easy to overtake on the main straight. A lot more difficult when you get trapped behind somebody around the back of the circuit.
Well, coming up to complete the lap, how fast will the 333 go with Marco Seafried? He's got to get 1:57.7 to go top, and he's looking very good to go. He's going to be just outside that, but oh gosh, they're 58.715, yes. So 8. There's an example, but he had 2 off-track moments during that lap.
Yeah, I mean, it's so easy. You run wide in the circuit. Running wide in some parts won't penalise you, other bits will penalise you. So the McLaren, the Von Ryan McLaren, the second of their 2 cars, in pole position in this, the second of the 3 qualifying segments, currently 57.7. That's roughly second quickest overall in the 2 sessions.
Right, the 73 Nissan just being picked up at Scene with Martin Plowman, second fastest at the moment. Won't be improving. His first 2 sectors of this lap, not as good as on his previous lap, but the car, of course, started the season in white. It's pale blue. And John, you're pointing at the screen.
Well, it's just slightly wide in the middle of Bousset corner. I don't know quite why. Now, that may have been a premeditated, run very, very wide and then sharpen the last part of that. There's no definitive line in that corner. You just take a lot of the road and use it as you like.
Now, do you think he's actually, well, he's been slower in the first and second parts of this lap. He's just backed off a little, trying to make himself a bit of space. Just that momentary loss of concentration. But as we see, he's actually closed right onto the cars in front, which isn't what you want.
No, it's not. And he wants to try and get past the Audi directly ahead of him. And he's not really, the headlights you can see flashing. Oh, there's that, just the flare off the, I think it's just the flare, in fact, off the, looks to go down the inside into, as we cut back to a more interesting scene in the pits with Sean Walkinshaw and Craig Dolby.
Yeah, well, they're commenting about how their car's doing, but in fact, even that lap was good enough for 6th fastest, so the pace is there even on its slower lap, but Dolby will be waiting. Who's going out next in the 73? It will be Dolby, of course. Sean walking short at the opening session.
Yes, and it'll be a fresh set of rubber, I'm sure, for Craig Dolby, as most of the teams are going to do. The back fastest first sector for Rob Bell in the Von Ryan Racing McLaren. So 3/4 way around a lap. Nothing in the middle sector that looks stunning. 30.30. Just to see what an optimised time would be. But anyway, he's coming up penultimate corner.
Well, he's got clear track, and that's good for him in the bright orange and white. Of course, the car he raced last weekend was very hard to look at. It was the art car, the Aston Martin at Le Mans, which was most extraordinary. Rob quite liked it, I think. 57.857, so that's a very handy lap. And puts him first and second, so 57.7, 1 minute 57.7 for the 59 McLaren, 1 minute 57.8 for Rob Bell in the 58. So Von Ryan Racing, reason to be happy.
Yeah, but on Pirello Racing, Bruno Spengler, big lock-up going into Parker Motorsport. What was that all about? Wow.
Big faceful for the driver behind the GT Russian team.
Yeah, that was a moment of... what was that all about?
That's Benny Simonson. Well, I suppose he's new to the team this weekend. He's joining Ian Loggy and Julian Westwood.
But you're meant to have ABS brakes. You're not meant to lock up the brakes.
Well, added a great moment of spectacle. Clock ticking down. We're nearly 2/3 the way through the session. It's McLaren, BMW McLaren, and there is that black BMW that's second fastest, brought on board this weekend to join Alex Zanardi. Bruno Spengler, so experienced.
I mean, Canadian driver, been a real star for BMW. I mean, this is a stealth car in every sense. Looks like stealth in its matte black carbon fibre finish.
That'll be fun for the cameramen tonight between 10 and 11 o'clock. Find the black car.
Yeah, I can just imagine. Oh, yeah, look for the black BMW. Give us a clue. But one thing that this car, the Raul Motorsport, have been able to do, they've been permitted, in the case of Alex Zanardi entering and leaving this car, because he's sharing, for the first time in my knowledge, in an endurance event in Blancpain with Bruno Spengler and Timo Glock, they will have a fourth mechanic to assist Zanardi enter and exit his car. Only for that particular purpose, not allowed to do anything else, but just simply to make sure he can get in and out without any significant penalty.
Well, totally fair, but I just wonder what Bruno Spengler is doing trapped behind that Porsche. Certainly won't improve his case. Second fastest on the board at the moment, but not likely to improve unless he drops back. But if he drops back, he's got Phoenix Racing, Audi tucked in behind him. That's no use at all. So, right, coming through the final corner onto the start-finish straight, I think he's coming into the pits. Yeah, and so he does.
Yes, and he's done his time. They're basically, I think, content.
In fact, he's just been pushed back because we've got a new fastest time, Fabio Babini, in the one of the two Grasser Racing team at Lamborghinis. They were fastest yesterday, the Lamborghini, and fastest again today. 1 minute 57.405.
Yeah, they're happier with the car here than it was at Silverstone. It looked a difficult car. Front tyres turned out to be the issue with the car at Silverstone, but the car's been consistently quick through the 2 free practice sessions, been quickest of all. 58.02 in the afternoon and 57.7 in the morning. So again, a car that looked absolutely stunning at Monza. Don't need to be excluded for a technical infringement. There we see the car, third of these 3 cars behind the Nissan. There's somebody picking up this one of the Ferraris behind just to see if there's any difference in straight line speed. The V8 Ferrari, the V10 Lamborghini look pretty much matched speed for speed as they come down Mistral straight, then the slight incline up into Scene corner.
If anything, the Ferrari was closing in, but it would have just got been just close enough to get a tiny bit of a toe, but then round the corner, Babini just ekes an advantage again. But as you say, Lebose, a long right-hander. And that last lap for Babini is, again, the fastest overall lap time over the 2 days that we've been running. 57.405. It's only a 1/10 of a second or less than that we saw this morning in the first session from the Nissan. So when the new tyres go on, one hard flying lap, I would expect to see the best part of a second, maybe a little bit more. So we could see a low 1 minute 56, possibly. And you know, when you get people like Lawrence Van Voor and all the other, I mean, really truly outstanding drivers,
in GT they might get into a 155.8 or 55.9.
Well, you just mentioned Lawrence Vantor. I just noticed the car he will be taking over for the third qualifying session, just running past our position to its pit garage. So they're going to get in, get it ready, new tyres on and go out. But Babini, maybe this time now he's got clear lap. There is the number 1 Audi I've just mentioned, parking in the garage closest to pit exit. Get used to the new livery. They like to change the colours of that car. It had a special livery for its home race in Belgium and has changed again for here, but plenty of discussion. But at the moment, Lamborghini trying to see what they can do. They're fastest at the moment, lots of talk down in the Lamborghini garage, but Babini top of the time charts, 1 minute 57.405, and that car will be taken over in the final section by Jeroen Mul. New rubber. Let's see now, a bit of green on the screen, so the 84 Bentley going faster and faster. Top speed not as good as Nissan.
No, just 274 at the same point the Nissan we saw, the 73 Nissan MRS Motorsports, or MRS GT, 279, the Bentley 5 kilometers down, and that's a lot of time to be slower. You've got to do a lot more around the racetrack to make up for the time loss on such a long straight. So Bentley will be aware that there's not an awful lot they can do to change that straight line speed. Well, differential.
There's nothing he can do about the Rinaldi Racing Ferrari ahead of him, but Mike Parisi in the 84 Bentley sitting at the moment 8th in the time charts. Oh, it looks like he's backed out of it. He comes into he had a green sector. I thought he might try and go up, but it looks like he's going to. Is he going into the pits or is he going to start a lap hanging back? He has done just that. So with 30 seconds on the clock, he'll be able to go onto this final lap and see what he can do.
Good choice, because actually a lot of cars have completed their runs. They're coming in. The track is going to be a lot clearer. We're on the last lap of this Q2 session. So Mike Parisi's only got the Ferrari ahead of him to concern himself with, and he can really just focus on getting the maximum possible out of his run as he runs very wide on the exit, coming out of what would be called turn 1. That's sort of turn 1 is a sequence of lefts, rights, sort of a bit of a straight all the way down to turn 2, the chicane, where the Bentley now is.
Okay, so a slight moment for him, but I noticed just ahead of him, Marco Seefried, when he accelerated away and went down to that first corner on his final flying lap. As you can see, no minutes left, the checkered flag is out. He had a little twitch going into turn 1, so Marco Seefried sitting down at the moment in 15th place in the 333 Ferrari, 7 places behind this Bentley. There it is on the screen, the green Ferrari, but the key for the Bentley driver, Mike Parisi, he's got a green time. That's the fastest time that car has done in this session in the first sector. 2 more sectors to pick off. How far up the top 10 will he go? Or indeed, with other cars on the track, will he still be in the top 10 by the time Q2 comes to an end? But what he cares about at the moment is he comes down the Mistral straight up to Scene. He has clear track.
Yeah, the Ferrari, the 333 Marco Seefried car, potentially it was in 15th place, I suspect. And Bentley, look how wide Parisi runs out of Scene. That'll cost them a little bit of time, so that's why there's no big penalty. Again, so they're using that sort of strip, that little black strip, which normally I would assume you stay in. How wide running out on the exit, coming out of Le Bousset, I mean, really just pushing it. I suspect he's run out of tyre and out of grip, and that's he's just overdriving now. So nothing particularly special, middle section. I'll be interested to see what Marco Seefried is doing in the Ferrari as the checkered flag is now out.
Well, Seefried seemed to have extended his advantage around the track, the gap, but those were one wild corner, then 2 very poor corners for Mike Parisi, so he'll be coming into the... he's going to, of course, complete this flying lap. What am I talking about? But Seefried goes up to 9th in the Ferrari, and any improvement for Parisi? No, but he stays in 8th place.
In fact, there's 2,000th of a second between now the Ferrari and the Bentley, and they're running almost sort of, if you reversed them, they would be in positions top 10. So a lot of people back in the pits getting ready with a new set of Pirelli rubber. Alexei Vasiliev, 39th place, number 70. The car received frequently Bernd Schneider in. And we're going to see Bernd Schneider.
Not this weekend. It's
not this weekend.
Karachev, Vasiliev who's just done that, and Marco Asma. The GT Russian team does tend to swap its drivers around. But the 2 cars have been doing great things this series in the Pro-Am sector of the championship and picking up points. But Schneider, in fact, racing somewhere else this weekend, but taking his experience. He's enjoying his racing this year, isn't Bernd?
Well, now the pressure's off. He's no longer in a sort of professional team in the form of, in the Mercedes DTM or whatever it was he was employed to do. He's doing it because he wants to do it and he's enjoying it. And being able to enjoy your profession as well as doing it in a very professional manner, but not be the kind of driver he would have been maybe 5-6 years ago when he was at his peak in DTM and other forms of touring car events. So shame he's not here this weekend.
Well, it's not. Isn't a driver who needs to build up his experience. But let's find out how life is going in the Nissan camp. We're going to hear any moment now from Sean Walkinshaw, driving the 73 Nissan.
Sean, the famous John Watson reckons you're the dark horses for this weekend.
Yeah, everything so far has been going pretty well. You know, we're always in the sort of top 6 in free practice, and you know, we're always in the top 8 so far in qualifying. And Craig's about to use our new set of tyres, so hopefully we'll be able to get up there. And we think we've got a good chance of going for at least top 5, if not even further, really.
So, if you're saying even further, are you hoping for a win this weekend?
Well, you never know. You know, it's a long race, but you know, we are definitely pushing for a podium this weekend. We're very, very close to Silverstone, and you know, the car seems very, very strong at Paul Ricard, so we're definitely pushing for a podium and just see what happens after that.
It's the longest of all the endurance races so far in the Blancpain. Is this car reliable enough?
Yeah, so far we've had no issues. You know, it's touch wood. You know, we've had no issues so far all season with reliability. So, in that sense, we should be fine. And you know, performance has been good, so I hope we are looking good.
And does the heat make any difference here? Because it's going to be a very hot track this weekend.
We're running at night, well, even afternoon, night time, so heat shouldn't be a big factor. We haven't got air conditioning or anything in our car, so it does get a little bit hot, but running in the evening, so this race will be fine.
Be prepared to wipe your brow. Thank you.
No worries. Cheers. Thanks.
So all very measured there from Sean Walkinshaw, but great reason for optimism in that camp with Martin Plowman and the driver who's going to maybe even deliver pole position. Let's see, Craig Dolby about to go out in this final 15-minute sector, but certainly plenty of confidence from anyone driving in Nissan here at Paul Ricard.
Yeah, it was interesting at Silverstone, the performance from the MRS GT Racing with Sean Walkinshaw was better in terms of the overall result than the Nissan GT Academy team RJN. And I think that probably raised a few eyebrows. But of course, you know, we did see a very strong initial run from Wolfgang Reib at Silverstone, but then at track position and lots of other little issues, not being able to get out of your pit box because you were boxed in, all those factors contributed to them falling behind the privately run Nissan.
But looking at the pit garages down here, the pit lane, you know, very, very tight indeed with 60-plus cars. Just saw Dave Bartram, the Oman Racing team, Aston Martin team, talking Johnny Adam into the car. Not ready yet. 73 Nissan sitting beneath us, nobody on board, just being put on board now, but a good handful of cars ready to go out. There's the Team Parker Racing Audi, the one that had the great big lock-up, and that will be going out with its gun driver, if you will. Julian Westwood should take that over for this final 15-minute qualifying sector.
Yeah, Jules has, you know, a lot of experience, a lot of still good speed, and enjoying his motor racing, having been on a sort of a sojourn for many years, came back into GT racing, British GT as well as Blancpain. And there is the car, Julian sitting inside.
Yeah, he's come back from sort of a time in martial arts and returned looking very pumped up last year.
A lot of gym time.
Gym time. So don't cross him, okay? Car looks great, and just waiting for that flag to be waved and the red flag being removed, of course. Let's hope we don't see that again. It came out twice in the first qualifying session, and now as we go for the ultimate shootout for pole, there's the number 3 Audi sitting at pit exit with none other than Stefan Ortelli on board. That's a good lineup. Frank Stippler moved on board this weekend to join the 2 Stefans from Monaco, Stefan Richelmy and Stefan Ortelli. So we've got this wonderful mix of Audis, Lamborghinis, Bentleys. Looking forward here from the view that Stephen Kane will have in the number 7 M Sport, entered Continental GT3. 15 minutes to go out and weave some magic.
Well, in reality, it's going to be a single flying lap on new tyres that's going to get the job done, unless you get, you know, really bogged down in a group of cars. But those that are going out at the very beginning, at the very front, and you can see the number 3, the Ortelli car, pretty much to the front as we look forward.
If you look to the right, you can see a lot of cars still with no wheels on at all, so I think they're going to split the session. Half will go out early on and have the track.
And essentially there's not room for 60 cars to go out on new tyres and all have a clear lap. So if you wait until this group of cars have completed their flying lap and come back into the pits, you should have probably about another 7 or 8 minutes of the session remaining, and hopefully you'll get some clear circuit and get a run and have a chance at, I mean, there the number 1 car just coming down off its air jacks. Now, will it be able to get in, or will it have to sit and wait? This idea of barging in has not been very well received.
So second sticking where I just saw the tyres being put on Andy Soucek's number. We heard from him earlier down in the pits with OJ. Tyres being put on his number 8 Bentley, but conditions warming up. The light cloud that was here earlier has burnt off, and now we have a cacophony of noise as they go out onto the circuit. Audi, Mercedes, another Audi, number 1 Audi nips into 3rd place in that queue. Let's see what they can do. The best time so far, 1 minute 57.405 seconds. But this, John, is the session for the fresh rubber. The track is certainly rubbered in, and in fact, some of the drivers in the previous sessions have even rubbed the sand and the dust off the outer part of the circuit beyond the white lines that mark the actual racing circuit. And I think the track should be at its very best at the moment.
Yes, the one benefit, of course, is that with a brand new set of rubber, you won't have the need to run out so wide as you come out of Scene or some of the other corners, maybe coming out of turn 4, though I think turn 4 has been observed quite strictly. So the benefit of the new rubber is significant, and therefore you don't want to waste it.
No, so for these drivers, however much their cohorts have told them what the track conditions are this morning, they're changing all the time, but this is their time to have a sighting lap, and certainly you want to be at the head of that bunch.
Yeah, the 2 Nissans, the GT Academy car and the MRS GT cars were running closely together and not wanting to trip over one another. As the 2 Ferraris, 51, 52. They have Corsa cars sitting still in the Duncan Cameron, Matt Griffin in the 51 car. And Adrian De Lenza and Cedric. Well, I need
Speranzuoli.
Yeah,
and he's the one going out. Just call him Cedric.
I thought that was a pasta.
Did you have that last night?
No, I didn't. I had fish.
Ah, okay, very good. So, out on circuit, there's the Leonard Motorsport Aston Martin. That had a fairly strong run at Silverstone. Certainly saw it in the middle of that, well, not in the middle of the midfield. It was up in snapping around the tails of the top 10. So, again, trying to work some track space, outlap. But what we know is the number 3 Audi was the first one out of the pits, and providing it's held its position, that should be the first around. It's just coming through the final sequence of corners at the moment, followed by number 99, the Row Racing Mercedes, and there is the number 3 Audi who's on board that. It is Stefan Ortelli, as we've said, the ultra experienced Monegasque.
Yeah, just looking at the numbers on the doors, they look slightly more difficult in daylight to pick out. That's because they are luminous, or they will be illuminated for the evening hours to make it more possible for people to see. You can just get a much more faint outline than you would normally expect in the daylight race. Stefan Ortelli.
Also, if you look at the screen, the top left of the screen as we look at it, there is their positional, the lights that will tell you what position that car is in during the course of the race. Can't see it illuminated, but between 10 and 11 o'clock tonight, that should be very handy indeed. Hopefully we'll be able to pick those up as they go around. But a little bit of understeer there from Ortelli, but staying within the red and white lines, very useful and indeed very much desired here around the circuit.
We've got a purple first sector for this car, but on our timing and scoring we've only got a green, which is a personal best. But now
that's because it's already changed. 2 other drivers have gone faster.
Well, at the point it came up on screen, it still wasn't showing on the timing and scoring. Now we've got, I just don't see who it is.
Well, they can't take it away, so that's Christopher Haas in 5th place, but then of course that'll change, and someone off the top timing screen has now set the fastest first sector. But as far as Ortelli's lap is concerned, it's listed on the screen with the 2 purple sectors so far. It should be good for provisional pole position. Don't suppose that will last, though.
Well, again, he's got a little bit of traffic coming up ahead of him, as we see the Von Ryan, McLaren, and I think the number 2 Audi, Robin Freins, Nico Muller, and Jean-Claude Vernet.
He wants those people on their outlap out of the way, and thank goodness the 49 Ferrari has stayed wide. That slightly compromised his line. He had to go tighter than he wanted to.
He did do it. I mean, that's the problem. You get traffic, you hit it at that part of the racetrack. There's very little you can do. You're just got to be patient through turn 7, 8 and 9, then into the final turn, Virage du Pont, as they're all being backed up now, and that's just frustration. Look at Ortelli having to go the long way around the Ferrari, and he will be absolutely going nuts.
Well, he will. I mean, the first 2/3 of the lap, fantastic for the Monegasque, but the last third has been an absolute disaster.
And that's actually Steph Dusseldorf who's gone quickest overall. Stefan Ortelli's time has compromised completely, and number 98 now, every car coming across is improving their time.
Well, the difference between Ortelli's time and the best time is 1.5 seconds, all lost in the final sector.
Lawrence Van Thor,
Kel Surprise, but now
Bentley has stopped. Now, is that a spin?
No,
or
I think actually it just froze on screen. That had a purple first sector, and that still seems to be going around. And there is the number 7 Bentley in shot with Stephen Kane on board. So let's see what that can do.
56.6, 156 the Lamborghini of
Mirko Bortolotti there.
Absolutely, that is the first time by almost a second quicker than anything we've seen so far.
That's the value of fresh rubber, and clearly worked his corner very well indeed. So it's Mirko Bortolotti from the 7 Bentley, which immediately is reduced by Katsumasa Chiyo in the 23 Nissan. So it's Lamborghini, it's Nissan, it's Bentley at the top, and 4th place is the number 17 entry, which is the Insight Racing Denmark Ferrari. So 4 marks in the top 4 position now. The 23 Nissan with Chiyo on board, 2nd fastest, but immediately runs into, well, not into, the back of another Nissan from the same team as the 22.
Yeah, the 17 Insight Racing Denmark, that is a Pro-Am entry with Dennis Anderson and Martin Jensen. And Martin Jensen has set that time. Pro-Am car in the top 6, 4th quickest. Where's the Am?
Yeah, well,
it's the Pro doing the time.
Yeah. Well, trying to work the traffic there, that 23 Nissan, but traffic all around, and in fact running wide, one of the Bentleys, that should be the number 7, yes it is, and that was 2nd fastest, briefly down to 3rd fastest now. Stephen Cade has set a purple time, that's fantastic in the 1st sector, his best time in the 2nd sector, wide but not too wide through the final sequence of corners. That's Adam Labusсе. Still some more twists to go for Stephen Cade, but Bentley's looking very good here, John.
Stephen Cade currently 3rd quickest at 1:57.333. He's got clear track. He hasn't had anything to impede this particular lap. The only issue is how much grip is there left, having done a strong run on the initial outing. So he's down, in fact, to 4th place, because up to 2nd place was Black Falcon Marco Engel in the Mercedes-Benz. So what's Stephen Cade got? Anything left in the tank? 2nd quickest, 57.000, and Malcolm Wilson will not be unhappy with that performance.
There wasn't a smile, but there wasn't a frown, so that's deemed acceptable by the rallying great. Now we're riding with the 23 Nissan, Katsumasa Chiyo going down the start-finish straight. Will he get into the 1:56s? He goes into 2nd place, 1:56.8 seconds. So he worked that traffic well. You can see the black Nissan in front, and there's the 23 Nissan coming into the 1st corner. I'd say that's fairly much job done. Get yourself onto the front row. But what will the time be for pole position? At the moment, it's 1:56.6. Can Lawrence Van Tor? He set his fastest 1st sector. Can he do anything about it? He's down in 8th place at the moment.
Marcus Seefried up to 3rd place. As we go back to the number 2, actually running very, very wide, coming out of scene. And that's the Robert Friens Muller.
Okay, so not such a good middle sector there.
The number 1 car. And again, look how wide.
I was going to say, just as you commented on one car running wide there, we had 3 or 4 cars behind that, and we've just heard they're not enforcing track limits at that turn. So it's clearly people trying to find their lunch stop, having a look at beyond the circuit. So that lap very much ruined for Lawrence Van Tor.
Just need to emphasise that the edge of the scene, if you run that wide, I mean, he was almost halfway to Bandol to get a case of domain or whatever it is. They make lovely rosé down there, but there's no penalty. Other parts of the track there will be, but on the edge of the scene has been deemed no advantage to do so. In fact, it's probably a marginal disadvantage. What is the time for the number 1 car? 63 has now taken that provisional pole position. So that's the Lamborghini.
Mirko Bortolotti. But what we're seeing, John,
56.6.
you were just saying what's the time for number 1, but it was pit time, because a lot of the cars have come in, and Lawrence brought that in, and he's now dropped down to 9th place as the order keeps changing.
Just got a glimpse of Craig Dolby on his flying lap. He's got a look. You can see there's the 3rd of the 3 cars, with the Ferrari right under the rear wing, with the Lamborghini ahead, weaving a little bit, coming up into scene.
Now, he went out very late. We commented how some cars are waiting to get a bit of clearer lap track later on, and he's down in 29th position at the moment, and I'm sure will come up the order, but watch out for 73. He's got to work his track position as well as getting the heat in the tyres, running very slightly wide there, but certainly we've seen far worse.
Well, there is the provisional pole sitting car, Marco Bertolotti, having done that lap on his previous lap. This one, I suspect, is not going to be an improvement, and I would not be surprised if he doesn't make his way back into the pits. To just under 5 or 5.5 minutes remaining by the time he'll be on to start finish straight,
which will be of no help at all.
No, he's backed up,
but the cars behind will get bunched up, and that includes the 73 Nissan. He almost stopped on the circuit.
That was naughty. That was naughty, because by doing so, he was looking for track position for himself, but he's compromised those cars behind, of which the Nissan was one, and I would have thought there would be a lot of complaint from the 2 cars behind they've lost out massively, having completed 9/10 of the lap on a new set of tyres, and that was a naughty manoeuvre.
Yeah, I'm afraid caught by the cameras there, and then running off the circuit in his attempts as he really puts the hammer down. Mirko Bortolotti, his best time, 1 minute 56.638. That's the fastest of all, but I don't know if we will have an improvement on this lap, but I certainly think people might be popping down to say that wasn't the way to do things. The 73 Nissan has actually come into the pit lane.
Well, I don't know whether it came in as a consequence or whether it was something additional, but Craig Dolby was on a flying lap, and clearly Bertolotti's actions by stopping the car virtually between turn 9 and turn 10 to give yourself or himself the option of having a clear shot out of the final turn to have another go at consolidating, if not improving, the provisional pole time that he has secured. And he did that on his first flying lap on that tire, indicating again just how critical it is to get a clear lap.
In fact, looking at the timing screens, it's listed as Martin Plowman, not Craig Dolby, in the 73 Nissan. But the important thing for the team, it's down in 30th position. And this was a car, John, that you thought could have a good crack at being in the top few rows of the grid.
Well, we can see the other Nissan, the Nissan Academy car, up in second place. So there's clearly, not a lot of difference between the two cars, and consequently, you would have assumed that the MRS GT Racing Nissan would have been in that sort of zone in the top 10 comfortably, I would have thought.
Yeah, I think it's 73's gone back on the track. Watching the 63 though, provisional pole sitter Mirko Bortolotti going around the circuit. He now's got a bit of traffic. He's got one of the ISR Audis ahead of him, the number 75 entry, but the factor is on screen. He hasn't improved on his first sector. He hasn't improved.
It just stops coming out of turn 9. This time no one behind him. He did that one lap ago, and doing it once is one thing, doing it twice. This time, in fairness, there's nobody behind him. The first time was inconsiderate.
Inconsiderate's a polite way of putting it, but no one's managed to topple the time. 3 minutes and 15 seconds remaining in this final qualifying session. 63 is fast. It's the number 9, the black BMW. We talked about that, new on board this weekend. And Bruno Spengler is in 21st position, 1 minute 27.7, a time that would have been good in any of the other sessions. But the fact is, he's there. He's just over 1.1 seconds down, and he's on provisional pole. He's 20 places further back down the grid. But it's in fact now listed on the screen as Spengler and on the graphics as Glock. So yeah, we can't be sure who's on board. We can't see the beard from here.
No, and you've got the Phoenix Racing Audi just ahead, and straight line speed. BMW straight line speed is not their strength. They're very, very strong on the circuits where aero comes into play. Let's see if he can pick up anything from the tail of the Audi down. He's just got to hang in there really as best he can. Personal best for the BMW in that first sector.
Just seeing what they can do up the back straight. But again, this wonderful shot down the Mistral straight, it just shows how much of a rise is. When you're approaching scene, how much do you feel that change in incline?
You're aware that you're a very gentle incline, and the reason you're aware of it because actually you can't see the apex until you arrive at it, and if you wait to see it, then you're going to miss it. So you have to make a commitment, an anticipation. Fastest or personal best again in the second sector for the number 9 BMW. Still again caught up under the rear wing of the Audi just directly ahead of it, the Phoenix Racing.
He's got to make the decision. Do I hang back and try and give myself one more flying lap with a clear sector of track, or am I going to lose too much heat from my tyres? So as he comes through the final sector of corners, the number 9 BMW from Royal Motorsport down in 22nd position. Certainly expected more from that. It will be rising up this time. How far into the top 10 it will go, if it will reach the top 10?
No, it hasn't. Real surprise there.
Well, actually, in that time, he's dropped a position, so down to 23rd as others went slightly faster.
Back to the Bentley coming down the straight. Stephen Kane currently 4th quickest. Personal best on this lap in second sector. Is this the number? It is 84, yeah, it's 84, not number 7, which is Stephen Kane. That's 84, and they are in 10th place. Is Vincent Abril. Yeah. So the
very chatty Vincent Abril, very entertaining individual. Yeah. Volunteered when his car retired to come and help us with some commentary, which would be quite entertaining.
Was he still muttering about Zolder, and it wasn't his fault?
That was before Zolder. Worth pointing out that the best Pro-Am car is up in 5th place at the moment. Mark Szulzicki, the driver from all the way over in Vladivostok, doing a great job for Nissan. But right now, let's see what Vincent Abril can do at his best opening sector as we get towards the end of this qualifying session. Still just under 30 seconds to go, so this flying lap will be started, this week completed, and one more to follow for Vincent Abril to see what he can do for the Bentley team.
Yes.
Yes, you said he goes third fastest, fourth fastest, third fastest. So that was a very good end of the lap. The middle sector wasn't so strong, but well done, Vincent. And now he does have something to talk about, John.
Yeah, that's a good run. That's a very strong run, HTP run car. In fact, that's the quickest of the Bentleys here this weekend. So they will be delighted with that.
Well, the 59 McLaren, that's Alvaro Parent on board. He's taken over from Adrian Quaife-Hobbs, and he's not at the sharp end. 13th at the moment. The sister car, number 58, is up in 7th.
But he goes up to 11th, so Alvaro Parent gains a couple of positions.
And the checkered flag is out. Unfortunately for him, he was about the first car to take the checkered flag, so he won't get another flying lap. But now the number 8 Bentley at the moment sitting down. I'm trying to see on the timing sheets. He's
number 8 down at 16th.
Down towards the tail end, but seeing what he can do to complete this, and that at the moment should be Andy Soucek. We saw the tyres going on that before the start of the session. The fresh rubber that they've all used to such good effect. 1 minute 56.638, still the target time, and the next second covers the next 20 cars on the grid. Counting down towards the end of this qualifying session. Don't forget, of course, John, it's a 6-hour race, but you do want to be starting as close to the front as you possibly can.
Well, there's no doubt, having watched Monza, having watched Silverstone, it is about track position, and that's all going to be dictated by your qualifying performance. Well, so if you're out of position, let's say in mid-grid, let's say between 20 and 40, you're stuck. Nothing very much you can do. Kevin Estra just having a little chat about how things feel. Rob Bell just deciding, and Nicolas Lapierre as well.
Well, they've qualified 7th, and the sister car just moved up to 11th place, which suddenly just became 12th in the final few seconds. So it's 63, that's the Mirko Bortolotti Lamborghini at the top of the time charts. Will anyone improve on that? The BMW with Mike Parisi has just moved up into 12th place. So the checkered flag is out, and we have just a handful about the top of the last dozen cars to complete their final flying laps. It doesn't look as though anybody looking at the times on the screen has got any life left in their tyres. The sweet spot has gone. So 63, the Grasser Racing Team Lamborghini should stay at the top of charts. There is the number 12 BMW down in 14th place at the moment.
So we look at number 19, and that's the sister car, Andrew Palmer, Fabio Babini. That was a car that actually we thought had won at Monza, until there was then technical infringement, and there's the pole position car. Yeah,
pole position car. So Mirko Bortolotti did the business there. 1 minute 56.638. So he's just under 0.2 of a second ahead of the number 23 Nissan. Very good job indeed. So the 23 Nissan delivered, but the 73 didn't shine in the way that we'd expected. And in fact, that ended up 34th position.
Out of position.
Out of position. So there's one to look for in the first stint of the race. But we've said it before, we'll say it again. Well, if you qualify badly, you waste half of your first stint trying to stay out of trouble, but to overtake.
I mean, it's easy to sit here in the commentary booth and give advice, but if you're that far down the field, all you can do is be patient. You've just got to accept that you will take time to get through the cars that you ought to be naturally ahead of. And by you maybe half distance, 3 or 4 hours, you might find yourself getting into a position, but it'll be hard work, and it will tax the patience of everybody. The cars that are being lapped, the cars that are trying to make up ground, you've just got to realize it's a 6-hour event. You will not win it in the first 10 minutes.
No, absolutely you won't. So there's Alvaro Parent, and he's qualified just outside the top 10 in 12th position. And here we have the Lamborghini 63 on pole position. You can see just a 1/5 of a second faster than the better of the Nissan GT Academy entries, with Katsumasa Chiyo doing the job right at the end. Second, you see, 0.6 of a second covers the first dozen. We just saw Alvaro Parent getting out of the 59 McLaren. He is down in 12th, a blink, and he'd been at least a row or 2 higher up. But advantage Lamborghini ahead of this 6-hour race, as pole position goes to Mirko Bortolotti, showing with Giovanni Venturini. Now, we saw great showing from the 13th place car. That was the Insight Racing Ferrari. Got fleetingly well into the top 10, but Dennis Anderson and Martin Jensen will be happy with that. And plenty of variety. We've got the Aston Martin, the Leonard Motorsport down in 23rd position, and then the Black Racing by Pearl Racing by Rinaldi, just over a second off the ultimate pace. So they can be proud.
24th.
24th.
A second. Amazing.
How many drivers can say today it would have been great if it hadn't been for traffic in the way? But it's all the same. Zanardi, Spengler, we saw them really suffering in traffic, and I think there's much more pace in that car. But don't forget, they're coming into this championship. The others have already had a head start. So for SRO Motorsport, I think they'll just have to find their pace as they go through the race. Starting 25th, a long way to the front, but they've got a great driver lineup.
Yes, a few cars and driver combinations that are what I would describe out of position, but you say 6 hours is a long way to go. Just going to be patient indeed.
But look, down in 41st position for the number 3 Belgian Audi Club Team WRT entry. That's the car in the Sprint Series, runs right at the front.
Yeah, and Stefano Telli and Raquelme and Stippler, they'll wonder what's going on. Why are we down on what was the 20th grid position, 20th row of the grid?
And still we go on. We've seen the first 48 and the times go on to the top 60. Okay, now these times are starting to go way off from pole position, but some may have had trouble. 9.5 seconds off the pace there for the 52 Ferrari. But even as you look down here, there's some great names down in the tail half. But for Attempto Racing, shame for them to see yet another driver change, and that's possibly why that one is down in 56th position. That's the 54 McLaren. Of course, the sister car we saw going for a spin and sitting in the track, so they'll be way down at the grid as well. So, advantage Lamborghini ahead of the race that starts this afternoon, a 6-hour race. And AJ, of course, is very busy down in the pits, and he's got the pole sitter. So let's hear OJ speaking to Mirko Bortolotti.
Mirko, a fabulous pole position. You must be very happy.
Yeah, I am. It's fantastic lap, fantastic pole position for us. I'm really happy. We showed the whole weekend that we have really good pace. Yesterday, we've been P1 on both sessions, so we were looking forward to qualifying. But obviously, with 60 cars on the grid, it's never easy to find a good lap. Luckily, I managed to grab the first free spot to have a good lap. So I managed to have a really good lap. Really happy with that. Big thanks to the team. They did a massive job. The car's running well. And together with my two teammates, Giovanni Venturini and Adrian Zhao, we are ready for the race.
Ready for the race. Just talking about the flying lap. You really backed up the cars before you went for it on that flying lap at the end.
Yeah, I guess that's what you need to do, because otherwise you will catch the cars in front in the second sector or third sector. So it's very important to find a good spot, and then you have one single lap and it has to stick. And I managed to do so. Really happy with that pole position. Super happy.
Well, it is just the tip of the iceberg. We're talking about a 6-hour race. How much testing have you done? Have you done that amount of time in the car?
Well, I think we are well prepared for the race. We've done a really good job with the team here in Paul Ricard, but also for the other tracks. I think our car's running well. It's reliable, which is the main thing. We have a good pace for the race too, so we will try to do our best. And obviously, 6-hour race, a lot of things can happen. So let's see what happens at the end, but we are ready for the race.
The team so far across the Blancpain season, it's been loads of highs and real lows as well with the disqualification. How determined are you to win here this weekend?
100% determined. I would say 120%. Everything I've got. I will put everything I have as usual to do the maximum I can, and then we see where we are at 11 o'clock.
Mirko, good luck for the race.
Thanks. Bye.
Interesting there, John. But he'd already his pole lap wasn't the one where he backed people up. He'd already done that.
He had got his clear lap in, but he did back up a group of cars coming into turn 10. So showing no sense of, I'm not concerned. I did what I had to do, and that's what you have to do. In fairness, that's what you have to do. It's just unfortunate that in doing so, as we see, that was early in the session, the McLaren stuck facing the wrong way.
Well, I mean, the track was busy throughout. We had to run through the 3 qualifying sessions for the 3 sets of drivers, and the red flag came out not once but twice in the first of the 3 qualifying sessions, interrupting the thought process of the drivers, the heat cycle on the tyres, and back out they went. But traffic everywhere you could see around the circuit. The drivers all had a good amount of running yesterday, but there's no substitute for track time. And of course, as you saw there, a huge lock-up, not everybody getting it right. The Team Parker Racing Audi having a little too much excitement.
Yeah, so I'm still perplexed.
So we're looking to the final session, and we had the number 3 Audi, the first one out the pit, Stefano Telli, but he didn't manage. It looks at this stage so he had clear lap, which of course he did, but when he got to the end of the lap, he found himself in the heart of the traffic, and that was ruined, and in no time at all he tumbled down the order, and that was a major consequence of the number 3 Audi. It was all about getting the heat in your tyres, but delivering, finding that clear section of track, and the team that did it best, we saw yet another lock-up. That was the 84 Bentley, but it was the 63 Lamborghini with Mirko Bortolotti. We've just heard him talking about finding a clear track. He managed to do that, but on top of that, the Lamborghini clearly has very strong pace, It's a 6-hour race and we'll be starting on pole position.